In this week's Accessibility Corner, we're going to take a look at some ways that we can make sure that your Excel spreadsheet is more accessible. So the first thing, of course, we want to look at is our font characteristics. As with anything that we've dealt with in the past, we want to make sure that where the font that we use within Excel is a sans serif font. Calibri, Arial, Verdana, etc. are all examples of sans serif fonts. We want to make sure that the font also is of a 12-point height or higher. For any information that is important or in broad categories, such as what this spreadsheet page will be about, I've used a larger font size to discern the difference, as well as to point out the font for the graphs. The font within the graphs are all higher than 12 points or higher. When you arrange data within a table, you want to make sure that you have filters included to make sure that your data can be more discernible for those users that may not be as familiar with Excel. And you also want to make sure that any colors that you use for tables and graphs are of a moot, dense color. That way it's not too flashy, it's not too bright for those with visual impairments. For graphs, you want to make sure that you primarily can use bar graphs and pie charts. When you display that data within PDF files or Word documents or whatever platform that you might be using, you can easily write alternative text that way. And this is just a simpler way to look at data in a more compact and easily observable package compared to some of the other graph offerings offered by Excel. Again, use this as much as you can and when applicable. Something else that we want to make sure that we consider is our page numbers. With this template, we only have one page, so it doesn't matter as much here. But when you have multiple pages, this issue can become prevalent. The main thing is you want to make sure that your pages are labeled in a concise and orderly manner for those that might be using screen readers. Speaking of conciseness, we want to make sure that the labels for our data coincide with what the actual data is representing. So we don't want something that, for example, might be a cost item associated with a percent markup, as this can throw off numbers and formulas, as well as labels on a table or a graph, which can in turn make your spreadsheet inaccessible and difficult to look at, not to mention with the data being wrong. Lastly, we want to verify that our formulas are coinciding with the data points that's represented within the formulas. And sometimes this can be a quick check, and then sometimes we might have to break apart the individual formulas. But Excel is pretty good at usually explaining when formulas won't work for those that might be encountering accessibility issues for that reason. Make your formulas accessible to coincide with accessibility principles. You can't have one without the other. So this was just a very brief rundown of some tips that I think can help make sure that an Excel spreadsheet is accessible. Just remember the rules from previous lessons with other apps, especially Microsoft Office apps. Apply those here, and just remember the points about data and numbers and graphs, and then you should have a pretty accessible file. Side note, the accessibility checker can again be accessed from the ribbon arrow at the top left hand corner, just like any other Microsoft Office app. Simply go to More Commands. I have gone over this example in a previous video.